There's one last feature we haven't implemented yet, and that would be the small X button near each user. When this X is clicked, we're supposed to replace this user with another one. So I already made it easy for us by selecting from the DOM each of these 3 X buttons and creating their respective event streams for clicks. So the feature is supposed to work in a similar way that refresh does, except it's supposed to refresh just one user. That's the idea. So let's take a look at how refresh was done. And it was here in this create suggestion stream function. This will return to us this event stream of the suggested user data for one user. So that's why we have 3 of them, because we have 3 users. And how does this whole thing work? Let's recap it using marble diagrams. So we have the refresh click stream, which is an event stream over time. And we also have request stream, which, by the way, this represents both of these different types of requests. And we can even separate that into a dedicated event stream, just as minor refactor. And this represents either startup requests, or that's what merge accomplishes, request on refresh. And then we also have the response stream, and we have the suggestion one stream, which is the output of our function here. So how does it work? Well, initially we start with the startup request, which is R. It happens in the beginning, and then after a short while we get the response for that request. If we click the general refresh button, that this event will be mapped to a request here from the request on refresh to an R, and then after a while the response for that refresh will arrive. And then how does suggestion one stream use those event streams? Well, it maps each of these response stream array. So this is emitting this big R. It means an array full of users, and we map that to one random user. That's what we get here. We map this one to a random user, and we map that one to a random user. And then we prepend this observable with a null here. So we're just saying that we start with a null user data, and then we merge with the refresh click stream mapped to null. So what does that mean? We get this refresh event, we map it to a null, and then we get an observable that looks like this. So we map that to a null, and then we merge this thing into the output here. Then we get that. Okay, so let's try to read this as the output of our function. Initially, we have empty user data for the first user. That's correct. Then after a short while, we get the random user on startup. Whenever we refresh, we should immediately empty that user data. And then after a while, that random user from the response will arrive. So how do we include the closing of with the X button here? Let's write it here together with the others. Close click stream. And since we have 3 different buttons, we have 3 different event streams for clicks, and we need to use them in order to produce the user data for the respective user data. So it means we only are using clicks from the first button for the first user, and the second button's clicks will be used for the second user's data, and so forth. So now that we have this here, we can include it in the function arguments, and now we can do something with it. And what are we supposed to do? So let's imagine that after a while here we go and we're gonna press X on that button. What are we supposed to do? So we're supposed to simply replace the user with a new user immediately here. So we are looking for this U here. So we kind of want to map this close click stream to a random user, right? So how do we do that? Well, we can just get close click stream and map it, this event, to a random user. So we can call get random user, giving it the list of users. But here we have a problem, right? We don't have list of users available in the scope. Why? Because it's sort of trapped inside the response stream. I mean, the response stream emits these R's. These R's are exactly what I mean with this list of users. So this is the same as saying list of users. So this is the list of users, and it's sort of trapped inside the response stream. And we want to get that. How do we do that? Well, what if we would have an operator that would be called map, but please also use the latest value from that stream. And you give the that here, which would be, in our case, the response stream. Now that's a really long name for an operator. So people have made a nice name for this, which is just called with latest from. So you can specify the sort of sister stream, the response stream, and then we can get that value here. So this here will return us the observable that has, we can even draw it. So whenever an X happens here, we're going to use the latest value from the response stream. That's why it's called with latest from. And we're going to join this R and this X. Okay, I can actually name this X and R. And we're going to create a random user here. And that's what we're going to use to merge this into here. And then we finally get that U that we wanted. Cool. So we just need to merge this guy into our output. Like that. Okay. And let's see. We can refresh everything and we can replace one user.